Hello everybody, it's a little windy out here today. Welcome back to WineUpTV. I'm your host Wayne, and today we're at Firesteed Winery on the south side of the Eola Amity Hills. And as you can see, it's a beautiful park, and this is the middle of March and it's miserable. When we get back, we're going to talk to Brian, the winemaker here at Firesteed. See you in a minute. WineUpTV. I am your host Wayne, and I'm here with Brian, who is the head winemaker at Firesteed Winery. Brian, in a Reader's Digest condensed version, a little background about you.
Sure, about me. I started out in college at UC Davis, but a little unusual for the wine industry that I got a degree in economics instead of the typical viticulture and enology. But I was working in a restaurant all through college and fell in love with wine that way, and ended up wandering into the Napa Valley after college and worked there for 4 years in a tasting room, and fell in love with Pinot Noir, and eventually made my way up to Oregon about 15 years ago.
A very unusual history. His grandfather worked in the wine business way back in the day in Lodi.
That's true, back in the 30s.
And that's back in the day, and we're talking about those those on trains, those tanker trucks that would go back east with wine, and they'd bottle it back there and
bottle it locally.
Yeah, it's just you know, the whole transformation of the wine industry over the last, well, after Prohibition really, and then you coming from Napa up here. So you landed up here in
1996.
All right, and got your feet wet. You like Pinot Noir.
I did.
And you started again at the bottom, kind of worked your way up to a
and so I found my way here to what was Flynn Winery at that time, and got a job working in the cellar and learned everything from the ground up.
Fantastic. So so Firesteed, for you guys who don't know, it's a larger label here in Oregon, and they have some great value wines, and they have some higher end wines. And we're going to talk about the last one, the Citation, here at the end. But it's a wine that's actually in bottle for
6 to 8 years before release.
6 to 8 years before release. Now I'm excited. This is a current vintage, it's 2001. So I'm excited to try that. But let's go through your wines. Now, tell me a little bit about your philosophy with Pinot Gris.
With Pinot Gris, actually we have Riesling.
I'm sorry, is the Riesling first?
Yeah, I put the Riesling first. It's the acidity is a little more prominent, so we usually start with that, even though the residual sugar is a tiny bit higher.
Okay.
We started making Riesling in 2007 after Howard Rossback, the owner of Firesteed, and I went to Alsace. We were actually doing a little research trip on making a late harvest Pinot Gris, a Vintage Tardif Pinot Gris. But the whole time we were there, we were drinking Riesling. And when we came back, we were determined to make a Riesling in that style and work. You know,
I remember growing up here as a kid, there was a lot of Riesling planted. Riesling, Müller, Thurgau, Gewürztraminer. Back in the day, it was cooler weather, great. It's getting a little warmer. And then the Pinot Gris craze came, and there went a lot of the old crappy Chardonnay clones, and a lot of the Riesling that tore out to be planted with Pinot Gris. That was a lot of pioneers, you know, going back to the Oregon roots. And I really think once Riesling gets a better reputation, everybody thinks Riesling is this cloyingly sweet wine. It's not. There's a lot of different styles. A couple of things, guys. When you're reading a German wine label, if it's low alcohol, it's high sugar. If it's high alcohol, it's low sugar. That's pretty much a rule of thumb, and then everything in between. But so your case production on your Riesling is a paltry.
This is between, actually on this particular vintage, it's 6,000 cases, but we're going to do about 2,000 on average.
Okay, you got a lot of extra fruit.
We do. It's now available. It wasn't originally when we first wanted to make it, but we asked two of our long-term growers to plant some for us. So it's on the east side of the valley, kind of near Silverton.
Okay.
And then also down near Jacksonville, Oregon, we have a little bit that gets significantly riper, and blend those two together.
Now we're here on the southern part of the Eola Amity Hills, but this is the Willamette Valley. We're like you said, a peninsula away from being technically in the Eola Amity Hills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So all the weather conditions are very similar.
Yeah, it's miserable out today. It's just pouring outside. Welcome to mid-March in Oregon, right? God, I'm just waiting for the little bit of niceness. All right, so the price point on your Riesling?
The suggested retail is about $12.
Okay, $12. The $12 Hala. It's a nice Riesling too. It's got a little bit of that honeysuckle. what I like, a good acid on there.
Mm-hmm.
Really good acid. It's got sweet, about what, 1.5% residual sugar.
Exactly, balancing the pH is very low, so high acidity.
This needs some pock wings right there in 32nd Division. No, it needs something spicy to really balance it out. Absolutely. All right, let's move right along. Let's try kind of taking the bull by its horns here.
Great.
We'll do the Pinot Gris. This is
2008?
This is the '08 Pinot Gris right here. All right. So.
And so we were talking earlier about this is all stainless steel fermentation.
Okay.
And it's about we're doing about 3/4 from the Willamette Valley. Some is on this property and then around the valley, and then 1/4 down in the Rogue Valley.
Oh, that's what you call it. See, they call it Oregon Pinot Gris. If all the fruit was sourced from the Willamette Valley, you put Willamette Valley on there, and that's fine. It's kind of like California wine.
Right.
You know, it says California label. That fruit can be sourced anywhere.
Well, our philosophy, Howard Rossback, the owner of Firesteed, has always felt that Oregon's more important. First of all, Firesteed's first vintage was 1992, and so just making everyone aware that wine was made in Oregon was where we wanted to start. And even if some of our wines are all Willamette Valley or even all from the estate vineyard, they might have an Oregon appellation on the front.
So 75% of the fruit is from the Willamette Valley, the other 25
from the Rogue Valley.
The Rogue Valley, Southern Oregon fruit, a little bit
Definitely riper, more tropical flavors, and then we're blending that in with the cooler Willamette Valley that's usually higher acid and floral.
Do you co-ferment, or do you just it's all?
Sometimes, yes, some of that is co-fermented.
Okay.
On the white.
Yeah.
So do a little bit of blending first.
That's just like on the Syrahs. Some of the wines will throw 5-10% Viognier in there with the whole fermentation process, and it kind of balances it out a little bit. Let's talk about the '08 vintage.
08 was certainly one of our great vintages. Just beautiful weather all the way through. No complaints whatsoever.
This '08, all stainless steel tank fermented, so the complexities, it's really crisp. It's like Granny Smith green apple crisp on the acidity. I like that. And it's got, even though it's stainless steel tank fermented, it's got almost a creamy texture to it.
Yeah, it's just a tiny amount of residual sugar. I try and stop one or two of the fermentations where the blend for the whole wine just has a little bit of texture and balances the acidity.
This is very nice wine. And the retail on
also
this,
$12.
$12. I mean, what I like so far is your wines are accessible to everybody. I mean, price-wise. Okay, the first Pinot, an Oregon 08 Pinot Noir. I have some people always complain and said, you interview these people and you take these wines and it's like you're all of a sudden the winemaker, talking about these wines, because keep pouring them. Just keep the pace going. All right, 08.
So Oregon Pinot. So this is where Firesteed got its start. First vintage was 1992. We were talking about that, and everything for the first maybe 7 vintages was all just one Oregon Pinot that was fruity, accessible, of value price, and was available nationwide. And that was a very unique concept at that time.
You guys are kind of flying under the radar because everybody knows Erath, everybody knows Soga Blosser, and then here in King Estate, and here you guys are, Firesteed, 80,000 cases a year. And the bulk of it is probably your Pinot.
That's right.
Right here. And but you have national distribution. So, the markets are probably hot. We're talking about Florida and Georgia and Texas and New York. And it's a cool label. And we know that price and cool label sells. So, okay, so the 08.
And so 08, again, just perhaps the greatest Oregon vintage for Pinot Noir that we've seen.
Yeah.
Just perfect balance. The fruit was ripe. No weather issues at all.
None. This is it's a nice Pinot. It's probably not as complex as the next one we'll be trying, but for an everyday drinking wine, and the retail on this Pinot
is 15, 16.
$15 for an 08.
You might see it as low as 12 sometimes on the super special.
Yeah, there you go.
Occasionally.
Yeah, there you go. And you know what? I tell you something. There's a lot of juice out in this world, and for $15 a bottle for a great vintage, it's definitely a 100 out. Try it. All right. I like that. again, it's nothing. It's not the most complex 08, but for an everyday drinking wine.
Right, and that's how we're making it. It's wine for the people.
Wine for the people.
It's an everyday Pinot, and so we're making it, doing less extraction, more gentle.
Okay.
Gentle fermentations, 20% of it's in barrel, the rest is in stainless steel on that Pinot.
So you're not out there pounding the grapes with rocks or anything.
We're not. It's
All
a
right.
very elegant style of Pinot.
This next wine here, this is the 2006
So
Willamette Valley.
This is our current release, so this starts to set the stage for our higher levels of Pinot. This is a Willamette Valley blend, so a good portion is from the estate vineyard and then from other growers that we buy
So
from.
this is the current vintage.
This is current vintage.
Which is small. This is again, Firesteed has this program to where they hold the bottles back, and I think holding your 07 back for as long as you have, you haven't even released it yet,
Correct.
is only going to make it taste a lot better because 07 vintage was very Oregondian and very
I like that.
challenging, right?
It was challenging.
Very challenging, but it's good. It's kind of throw a winemaker like you a curveball now and then. Say,
Right.
okay, we have to react in this manner. And like you said, in the '97 vintage, I think which was your first vintage,
Yes,
real first one, and he just said it was just a mess. But you'll learn from that kind of stuff.
that was more than challenging.
You'll learn.
But you're right, I'm more proud of our 2007 than I am of our 2008 because that really was challenging.
Sure.
It was an accomplishment.
Well,
So
I
this
like
is this is 2006. So
Yeah.
this is about a year and a half in French oak, the best blend from the vineyards that we grow ourselves and then buy from in the Willamette Valley, and then 2 years of bottle age before release.
2 years of bottle age. There's a cost there. People ask me, why are Pinot Noirs so expensive? Well, there's a lot of factors. One of them is holding them back a little bit extra time, let alone 8 years or 9 years. But the 2006 vintage is very warm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you were dealing with conditions that were just overripe.
Exactly.
No.
Very different than what we experienced last year. So we did need to be concerned about waiting too long. Certainly wasn't the issue in 2010. But, so tried to pick the grapes with the best balance. In a year like 2006, I find that some of the older vineyards and the vineyards that are hanging a little bit more crop, like the vineyard here at the winery, where maybe 3 tons an acre, you have better balance than you do in a hot vintage where you've cropped way down. Sometimes you have to lower the crop, or on average we lower the crop because of the challenging weather. But then if we have a really warm year, then that fruit is going to get too low.
Sure. '09 was a good example. '06 and '09 are very similar.
They are absolutely twin vintages.
Yeah. And which I like them is they're very approachable now. I don't know if they're going to be aging that well, 5-10 years, because of the low acidity and the higher alcohol. There's always that balance of wine that you want to get. And just because you lay down a wine for 10 years doesn't mean the wine's going to be that much better. There's some vintages you want to drink up, and there's some vintages you can actually hold on to for a little while, which
And so for us on this 06, I'm definitely selecting barrels from vineyards that were either higher elevation or a little bit lower sugar level and higher acid, so that this wine will age.
it's got a really nice mid palate. It's got like raspberry fruit. It's got that vanilla. It's got nice, very silky tannins. Yeah,
That's our goal.
no, that's a very nice wine. It's very food friendly. Goes got a nice little salmon on the grill.
And then that's a step up at about $30.
Okay,
But still, we did, like you said, we invested in the bottle age.
you did, and even at $30, the higher end, it's worth it. It's got everything I like in a wine. It's there. It's just a very, very well structured wine. Good job. Let's talk about this program. Talk to me about the citation.
Well, Citation started, this is Chardonnay.
Let me give you
Here,
the
we can-
insight here.
let's bust out the big
Yep,
glass.
there we go, baby. I'm messing around here. All right.
So Citation started because Howard Rossbach wanted us to make the best possible Pinot to prove that Oregon wines could age. And the concept was so different that we didn't want to bottle that as a Firesteed wine, which was very familiar as a value price. And so with the Pinot Noir, make the best wine that we can, the best Pinot from anywhere, a blend from anywhere in the state. The weather's different. Sometimes we might have a better year in the Rogue Valley or the Walla Walla Valley or Umpqua or Willamette Valley. So whatever that blend is, after about a year and a half in French oak, we bottle age between 6 and 8 years before release.
Wow. That's just unheard of. The only other person I know about bottle age is this long is Argyle. They do an extended triage on their sparkling wine. That's about 10 years, and which really makes that wine shine. This, I haven't tried this one, but the Chardonnay, Oregon Chardonnay gets stuck, guys. We compete with California Chardonnay and Washington State Chardonnay. I think Oregon Chardonnay. Now there are some Domaine Drouhin, there are some producers that make some really nice Chardonnays, but it's because we had such a crappy clone back in the day, the 108
from California, which ripened beautifully in that warm weather at higher crop loads, but in Oregon it just struggles.
Sure.
So this is not 108 clone. This is actually a unique concept as well in our Chardonnay. A good portion of this is coming from the Walla Walla Valley.
I like this.
It's a serious Chardonnay.
It is a serious Chardonnay. I've never had this wine before.
So this is coming from between Milton Freewater and Pendleton, which is technically Walla Walla, but it's way up in the foothills of the Blue Mountains.
On the Oregon side.
On the Oregon side.
Walla Walla is an AVA, an American viticultural area that crosses state lines.
States.
Washington and Oregon. And what's the W3?
So that I'm getting to that. That's the
Okay.
Walla Walla. So we have that super ripe fruit, and then we blend some Willamette Valley. So the third W.
The Walla Cube.
Yeah, so it's a unique blend. So we bring some higher acid Chardonnay back in there to bring this into balance. And it's a really unique.
This is a beautiful wine.
Chardonnay.
I'm Chardonnay is like you guys heard me talk about this. The most manipulative grape in the planet. I mean, you can do from stainless steel tank fermented to new oak, full malolactic, and everything in between.
It's definitely a winemaker's wine.
It is.
We're impressing our will on this, that it starts out as pretty much a blank slate. And so this is a little bit cooler fermentation, but barrel fermentation, surly.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this.
A little bit of new oak.
This is very nice. How much new oak is in this?
Yeah, I keep it around a third.
Okay.
Not too much.
You want to get a little bit. ML?
And the ML doesn't, it's never complete. We get just a little bit on it.
A little creaminess there.
Yeah.
Gotta tell you something. I'm going to snuggle up with a bottle of this one of these nights. That's a really well-made wine. And the vintage date on that was the 08. 08 was great over in Washington, too.
Yeah.
It was hard to find a bad 08 Washington wine. We get so many rebates. All right, so this is exciting. This is the 2001. Let's talk about this for a minute. Case production on this.
This is about 1,000 cases, but 6-pack case.
Okay.
500 cases. And so 01 was a vintage that's not that dissimilar from 06. There was a lot
Great color.
very ripe. Yeah, the color's maturing beautifully.
It is. It's not really getting that little brickish around the tinge around the edge like some older wines would.
So a ripe vintage.
The smell of an old wine.
Mm-hmm.
For you guys that have never had a 10-year-old wine, 15, 20-year-old wine, it's just completely different. The fruit falls out on the front smell, and you have all these earthy smells to it. A little bit of tar.
Right, we can only get that from the bottle age.
Yeah, exactly. That only comes with patience.
Right.
And most of you guys out there have no patience.
Or willpower.
So
we've provided the willpower for you.
yeah. Slim's wonderful, man. Last night I went to this lunch. Slim went to this lunch with Arborbrook yesterday at Metrovino. They gave us a nice bottle of wine Valentino. And I said, Slim, I said, look, don't drink this wine. I said, just relax, man. Just leave it. Take your girl out for a nice dinner. I said, this morning I picked up, I said, so did you drink that wine? He goes, yeah. I go, really? I said, can I hold on to some of these wines? But this is, I love the nose on these older wines. This is drinking really well right now. I wouldn't hold this another year or two.
That's the point, is we already held it.
You held it.
So you drink it.
Here, yeah, exactly.
This one's ready for Slim tonight.
This one is ready for Slim tonight. Take the rest of that home. This is, he made a good point. Brian made a good point. This is a wine that's been aged to the peak of maturity.
Right.
And another year or two, it'll still hold together. It'll start falling apart, I think, in 3 or 4 years. But it's drinking so well right now. God, this is very nice. I love old wine.
And then keeping with the value theme, this is still retails at $50.
And then the Chardonnay is?
Chardonnay's 30.
All right. I tell you something. The Chardonnay, I'm not a huge Oregon Chardonnay fan. I don't like that Chardonnay. This is so different. It's worthy. It's worthy of a purchase and just to try it. It's just, how often can you find an 01 Pinot Noir anywhere? Well, hey man, you know what? I've heard a lot about your program. That's why I reached out. And by the way, Howard and I met on LinkedIn. You know, the power of social networking is amazing. You know, I've got so many friends on Facebook. I do my LinkedIn, and people are now starting to email me and get a hold of me for this show, and it's pretty cool. All I want to do is promote the West Coast wineries, and this has been a very nice eye-opening, because I don't usually bring my guests down this far, because, you know, from Portland to here, it's about 50 miles. It's just a little bit out of my range.
But if you bring them down 5, you can avoid all the Dundee traffic.
I can, and cut right over.
Yeah.
I can. And I think I might have to put you and Van Duzer, and there's a few others down here.
It's a great tour.
That I really want to start hitting. But anyway, dude, cheers. You know what?
Thanks.
Great wines, guys. Hey, these wines are available here, and they're available at my shop, too. So if you like, give me a call. Give these guys a call, and come on down here. Check out the tasting room. It's really a beautiful, beautiful setting in the Yosemite Hills. Until next time, I'll talk to you all later.